That's awesome. My name's Carl. I'm your instructor today, and I'm excited. So today we're going to talk about strategic winning techniques, strategic negotiations, techniques that are used in winning. Back when I was looking at what brokerage to come to, and I was interested in looking at KW, I was fascinated when I came in and attended meetings that everybody shared their secrets. They just talked about what they did. They told us exactly how they did it. And it was kind of mind-boggling to me because the offices that I had come from before were not that culture. But if you've learned something over KW, and one of the things I've absolutely loved, take it as a win, take it as a pride factor and arrogance almost, right? But when you're good, that's what you have. That's what you feel. And when you quiz people and really ask them, why do you share all of your secrets? Why do you tell everything that you do? Most of the time, their answer is, because nobody will take the time to do it. I know that they won't actually do what I do. That sunk really deep for me. So when Shoni called a couple weeks ago, it's like a month ago. No, it's a couple months ago, month ago, something like that. And I was driving back from teaching at UCLA, and he said, hey, we want to do a sales series and we want to talk about negotiations. And I was like, you want me to share the secrets that I use to beat all of my fellow agents at KW in negotiations? And what I do to win in contracts and everything? It's like, yeah. I said, okay, I'm interested. So let's dive into it. My goal today is to give you guys, there are 4 slides on this. I don't like to use a lot of slides. I like to talk. I like to have people learn and understand. But I want you to walk away with tangible ideas and things. For those that really love the tangible, I'm just going to read things and I want to know that you prepared, I just put a bunch of bullet points up. Looks great, doesn't it? This right here, for me, is one of my fastest ways of being able to understand and know how to do negotiations. Now, there are a million things I could have put on here. And because we have Mr. Master Broker here, there are a million things you shouldn't do that are on here, that are not on here, because those are common sense, right? You should not lie. You should not ever fib a little bit just to kind of win. You shouldn't mislead, represent in a false way in any way. So when we talk about negotiating, how many of you guys have thought about, what does that really mean? What does negotiating mean? What is negotiating in and of itself? Am I good at negotiating? Funny thing is, you use it every single day. Every day you negotiate with yourself. Every day you wake up and negotiate with whoever you interact with. It is a natural thing that we all do. And those that have perfected it and gotten really good at it, you can feel it. And sometimes you can't. Does anybody know what gaslighting is? Has anybody ever heard of manipulation? Dare I say it? These are, by true definition, actual Google definition, negotiation tactics. Gaslighting is literally defined as using psychological techniques to convince someone that you are correct. Did you know that? That's it. Yeah. You're literally just explaining that you are right. So, fun story, I had a sister told me I was gaslighting one day. I was like, what the heck is this? What did I do? What did I say? What is gaslighting? I don't have any stoves around me. So I went and started Googling it. The next time we were talking, she got a little feisty over something and said, you're gaslighting me. And I said, you are correct. Yes, I am gaslighting you. By definition, I am trying to convince you that my opinion is correct and you are not. That is what this is. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, but I was like, it's what it is. Now, gaslighting has a negative context to it. Manipulation has a negative context to it. But in reality, when you're talking about a transaction and a true win, isn't that a win for your client? If your client has entrusted you with millions of dollars and asked you to go win for them, what tactics do you use? Everything you can. Because your priority is who? Your client. You've got to make your client feel like they were represented correctly. So any stories and fun stuff that I'm going to share are things that I've used this last 14 days. Fun, quick things of how I've taken opportunities and turned them into wins for me. Now that we started off with a whole gaslighting thing and everybody's like, what the heck are we about to listen to? Let's move past that and talk about positives and good things. Number one, and we talked, this was really, really, really the main feature, right, of was it last week or 2 weeks ago? When was the first class? Last week. Courtney kept asking, was everybody here last week? If not, I'm going to recap. Okay. She had you get out a piece of paper and write down a very important thing. What's your value? How do you know your value? And even Shoni spent 26 minutes, because I watched the recording, and he went through all about your value, what you do, and everything that you have. Isn't that wild? Does anybody know who, think here, Jeremy Keel is? Rhonda Burnett? Anybody know? Hold on. Brett Kaiser? Anybody know those people? Not Jordan Keel, Jeremy Keel. These are the people that started a lawsuit that is supposedly going to have changed your career. These are your original plaintiffs. 3 of them. Does anybody know why the lawsuit started?
They were mad. They had to pay the buyer's agent. They felt like they didn't get a chance to negotiate, and they didn't know that they...
Yeah. What was Rhonda's case? Do you know? Spend some time on Google. Understand who they are. If you're going to start off your negotiation on the very beginning working with people you don't know and they want to ask right off the beginning, what is this lawsuit? How many of you have had that question already? You need to know what you're talking about. When I read through this case, I have a very soft spot for police officers. And when I listened to an agent that told the man that he could have 5.5%, he could get the homie hookup and have 0.5% taken off the total commission. And then in the end, charged him still a full 6. Is that a win or a loss for real estate agents? When somebody walked into a listing presentation and had a pre-filled contract, and Rhonda was presented a piece of paper and said, check one of the boxes and initial next to it. Do you want to pay 6, 7, 8, or 9%? Yeah, that's a good face, isn't it? You're like, what the heck? I didn't know that's what this is about. This lawsuit dominated and destroyed the NAR, Keller Williams, Home Services, by a personal injury attorney who walked into court and said to the jury, this is not a lawsuit over we want a bunch of money. Talk about that later. This is a lawsuit about returning what is rightfully theirs. They were not given an opportunity. They were not taught. They did not care. And from that point on, we are all sitting here with months and weeks of training. Dean's hair has gone from gray to even more white is starting to develop as he's realized 300 agents of his are going to try to explain this conversation. And hopefully we don't get sued again. All because in the end, I believe rule number 1 was violated. Show that you know and show that you care. And if I'm going to talk to one of my clients and a police officer, a personal group that I associate with a lot. I'm never going to lie to them and say, hey, you get the homie hookup. It's only 0.5% off. But at the same time, my word is my bond. So what I say, I'm going to do. Go ahead, Dean.
Just super fast. My mentor, when I got into this, he said, the best bluff is truth.
Yeah.
You know, if you say, look, my buyers told me they will walk if we can't do this. Then we'll negotiate it, and you're just saying, look, I'm putting all the cards on the table.
Yeah.
It's amazing if you do that. You're more vulnerable. But you're also coming from a place of strength.
Yeah.
You say, do you want this transaction or not?
Isn't that wild? I believe real estate agents have value. I believe we are a career that is worthwhile to keep around. But when it comes to negotiating and learning how to represent someone, whose interest do you have when you start that negotiation? And that's why we started with the whole thing about gaslighting, the whole thing about manipulation. That could be something, if you are doing your job 100%, 110%, you'll be accused of by other sides. Because in the end, you care about who? The person that entrusted you and said, I'm willing to pay you. Take care of me. Do it right. And that's all I care about. So, read and mirror. Who knows about mirroring? What is that? Hit me.
Would it be like just mirroring your client's behavior,
Mm-hmm.
energy, all that?
Yeah. Hey, is Johnny going to watch this? Probably not. Good, because I'm going to talk about him. You guys all talk to Johnny? Maybe not. It's your first day here. Johnny's our boss. Go up the ladder. Okay? Negotiating with Johnny and having a discussion with him is a highlight of my life. I love it. Secretly.
Terrified?
No. I cracked the code. And I love it. Because I mastered one thing. Read and mirror. You have to know the person's personality and get to know them a little bit so that you can understand exactly what we're going to deal with, right? Reading and mirroring is the number one tactic that the FBI uses in any of their negotiations. If, Trent, you're sitting there, nice and calm, cool as a cucumber, should I come out full blazes yelling at you? Yeah, no, not going to happen at all, is it? No. Now, someone that's already hyper excited, yelling, angry, you have a couple options. You've got to read them and you've got to make a decision. Do I match? And that's mirroring. Do I go yell mode back? Or do I take a step back? Two examples of how this does not work very well. This is a vulnerable moment. Do not judge me for this, everybody. I learned after a couple years that my wife has an emotional cycle she must complete for an argument to happen for us. Do not judge me on this. I know she's not watching this, but I've told her to her face that I do this on purpose. She must first be hurt at what I did. She must then get really angry. And I've got to suffer. Then it's like we're two very emotional, expressive people. It's about a 60-second cycle. It's actually very quick. We have a great marriage. Been married for 10 years. But we have a whole thing, and I know it. So when I can tell we're not talking like, hey, you left the dishes out. Like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like, I'm out with the guy friends, and I forgot to text. She had all 4 kids. She's done. I came in happy. Life is good. Just hung out with my bros. And I met with, you know what your freaking son did? And I'm like, oh, where have you been? Why didn't you tell me? I was tracking your location. You said you're going to be back an hour ago. That person's more important than me. You love your friends more than me. Obviously, she knows that's not real. And I've learned right that moment she is hurt. I now need to escalate this to her being angry. I know that's messed up. Yeah, I do. I escalate it. I take it right up there. If you really loved me, you wouldn't. This is how you're going to treat me? This is how you feel about me? Right there, flames. Boom. And then I always go like this. I was wrong. It's my bad. That really hurt. I need to say I'm sorry. And I'm also sorry. But she just had a chance to yell at me and feel justified in yelling at me. Because I learned very quickly, if she doesn't feel justified in yelling at me, but she gives me a good yell, she feels bad. Then it's a whole different cycle of emotions that follow with it. So I just learned, escalate it, get it over with, back down. And the best part is, Annalise, I tell her this all the time that she does this, and she still doesn't care. She loves it. She's like, cool. That's how we operate. That's a reading and mirroring tactic. Now, this is someone that I'm obviously very close to. And I know every emotion and thought that we have. It's been a long time. But at the same time, I know I probably shouldn't, just with any person that ever has a conflict with me, immediately escalate it to anger. It just doesn't work. You have to learn each cycle and each person and how they like to operate. So I asked AI to describe mirroring for me. Mirroring is a technique that involves observing someone's body language and then subtly reflecting their position. It can help with building rapport, networking, and bonding. Here are some tips for mirroring. Be subtle. Don't mirror someone immediately or exactly, as this can come off as unnatural or mocking. Prioritize listening. Nod until your head as you listen. Match their vocal tone and pace. If that works, you can move on to mirroring gestures and posture. Match their pace and volume. If they are a super fast talker and loud, increase your volume and animation. If they are soft, slow, and more relaxed, match them at this level instead. Not bad, AI. It's pretty good, wasn't it? I liked that. I used to do sales at trade shows. It was a fun experience. Most people would walk by the booth and they would be scared to even approach the booth. Why? There's a salesman. He's going to make me buy something. A lot of people can't say no, especially when I present little ticket items first that they have a hard time saying no to. So oftentimes they would go like this. What's the price of your backpack? Thank you. And they're out. So all of a sudden I was like, okay, when I first started, I was like, I'm excited. I'm going to stand at the end of my booth. I'm going to stand here and wait. I'm going to make direct eye contact with people, make them feel uncomfortable. Watch some of them go like this. Pretend like I don't even exist. And then I learned, this is an interesting thing. People are coming here because they want to learn stuff and they want to buy these things, but they don't want to experience it. So what did I do? Unlike most people, I took a chair, I put it at the back of my booth, and I would sit back there. Put my backpack on. Sometimes I kicked off my shoes, left my shoes sitting there, and I would just chill. People would come by and be like, it's like $10, $20 for that and on the table. Let me know if you need anything, have any questions. So is this, and I wouldn't get up. Why? Because I was learning that crowd and that group. Then I learned about something even crazier. And this sounds funny and inappropriate, but it's really not. So ignore the connotation of it. But has anybody ever heard of crotch framing? Crotch framing. Okay, this is a thing. You can Google this later. It will not pull up weird stuff. This is an actual psychological thing that men do. Crotch framing consists of, and if you want to observe, go sit at a park, go sit at especially a convention center, an expo, and enjoy watching this. It is wild. If a man is with a woman, inevitably, if another man begins to speak to her, subconsciously, he will begin to posture and move himself to a position. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Crotch framing is anything that accents without any means to do so. Someone putting their hands in their pockets, folding their arms, sticking out their hips. It is a real thing and a normal tactic, and something that we learn to watch for very carefully. As you start to meet with someone and they would immediately start to pose these kinds of posture skills, I knew This person is poquito aggressive. They're going to be a little harder to read. So I would immediately take a choice. Match. Go right back up to it. Get in it. Or I would just slowly, hands in the back of my pockets, look a little subtle. Let him feel like he won. And at that moment, he thinks he's in control of the sales conversation. And I'm actually controlling him, and he has no idea. Crotch framing is legit one of the wildest things that does exist. But as you watch couples walk around and somebody with an attractive spouse and somebody begin to talk to her and get bubbly and happy, inevitably you will see a man begin to make gestured moments, and he has no clue that he's doing it. It's wild, guys. The art of understanding people and psychology is the key to everything that we do in real estate. And I've spent the last week touring amazing homes in Park City. Average price point was $4.5 million. It's a different kind of thing over there. And as I met with people and started talking to them, I had options. How do I want to play this off? And each time I would have guys that mastered either one of these tactics. Some of them would start immediately with a push. Bam! Come right in. This is the perfect house. Ka! And then through the process of this, as this client of mine got to know me and got to notice that sometimes when people got a little aggressive, they watched me go like this, just back off. They would be talking and I'd just be walking around looking and I wouldn't say anything. We'd drive in the cars and I would never interact with the sales agent. I mean, I was friendly, I was fine. But really, I looked like a dud, Jakaya. I know that this guy went back to his office and was like, that agent was a wet noodle. He didn't do anything.
Sorry, is this because each agent, listing agent, is?
Oh yeah, at that point they follow you. Yeah. At that point, yeah, you to get through gated communities, you've got to stop at the sales center. You've got an escort to go through any of these homes. Most of the time, the listing agent will arrive. They will be there. Yep. And you just have to sit there. Now, over this process, as this client didn't know me but got to know me, we quickly started to learn something. They learned that I have a really, really good eye for detail. So, show you know and show you care. Wouldn't talk a lot when our first homes would happen. And then I would inevitably say, let's rank some of those homes. How was it? Did you like it? Some things you didn't like. And if they went more negative on the house, what did I do? Matched it. If they went more positive on the house, matched it. And inevitably, I would always give them this option. Well, what do you think? And I would say, how do you want me to respond to that? Would you like me to respond to that from your point of view or my point of view? Oh, would you like me to give my just straight opinion as how I feel, or my opinion of this home in general as a real estate agent? And by the end of these days, as we're touring together, one of the last agents is cruising around with us, and he says, this is one of the best homes that ever existed. You guys like it? What do you think? And he's making a good conversation with them. And I kid you not, their words were, we like it a lot. The only thing that would stop us on this is if our trusted real estate agent here lets us know afterwards what he's seen. We will consult with him after.
That was you?
That was me. Why? Because they knew the whole time I'm walking, and they came up and said, okay, what'd you find? I said, there are 2 tiles that are loose in the master bathroom. One is underneath the rug. Behind the closet door in the master suite, they did not finish the baseboards and finish caulking it all the way. That left me a little nervous. In the kitchen, next to the sink, there are 3 staples that they use to stick down the LVP. That LVP that's put down, that is a breaking point. Inevitably, that's going to have to be repaired with a lot of wear and use. Put a rug over it. It'll be fine. It's okay. Other than that, the craftsmanship seemed pretty good for me. I did not like some of these features. I really liked these certain things about the house. Then we meet up, go through another house, come back. The guy's like, oh, talking again. What do you guys think about this? And they're like, do they have security systems? Like, does the other one have a security system? He goes, I think they have like a well, yeah, they have one ring. And I was like, they have 3 rings. He went, I was like, well, there's the one that you're talking about in the main living room that has a motion sensor attached to it, but there's a doorbell camera that has a ring there. And then they also had one off the main bonus room behind the plant. And he goes, your guy doesn't miss anything. And they were like, yeah. And I said, I may not be able to have good conversations with people at times, and I may look a little hard to articulate things, but I am paying attention and noting absolutely everything through this home because that's what they want me to do. That conversation, that relationship with those people has adapted and morphed. But even more so, now I've got to negotiate against the agent. So, build rapport and trust.
Good question. So that particular client, did you read that they like details and that, or
Yeah.
another person might not be into those little details, but
Nope.
be into how they feel and how they, whatever, the light, this, that.
Feel is number
Feel is
one.
different, yeah.
And that was always their thing. Number one is feel. And I just quickly learned what their feel looked like.
If you ever work with an engineer, dentist, or like there are certain people that
Yeah,
as
so
clients, you know, it's going to be.
yeah, so these two are former litigator in business, former CPA controller of businesses.
Yeah.
That is a dynamic duo. Go ahead.
These are like $4-point-something million.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking, I'm not talking.
But
Know every detail.
my clients, down to the very lowest of cost of home, they want the same Taj Mahal experience with me. And you know where the number one place I look is? Utility room. And they knew that. This is another piece. Show you know. You cannot ever substitute the knowledge of homes and understanding the way that things work. Guys, if you've never done construction, that's okay. There are 1,000 YouTube videos to watch. There are a million things to do. I am no car mechanic, but for some reason, I watch a video on every item I'm going to take to the mechanic shop to fix because I want to know it. And then when I'm talking to them and a mechanic and I'm negotiating, I'm going to say, did you replace the spark plugs at the same time that you took off my manifold? Is this guy a mechanic? No. But I understand engines enough. I just wanted to make sure that you did it. Like, let me know, because I'm not seeing a line item for spark plugs. Did you put new ones in? It's all about show you know. That's it. So, number one tactic is, you can steal this from me, I call it the control room. Furnace, water heater, electrical panel. And within the first few homes, still millions of dollars. And I walked in and I said, hey, I noticed that guy's office upstairs. He had some signs about an engineer. I think he thinks he's an electrical engineer, I'm guessing, because in the panel, when I opened the cover of the panel, there are 3 different types of handwriting. That tells me that this panel has been altered, which is very strange at this price point. Why would somebody be altering a panel? But I also noticed in a box, there's a pile of breakers sitting next to it. No electrician leaves a box of breakers fumbled around unorganized. Pretty sure this dude, when he added some features to this home, probably, my opinion, not factual, we would really want to check the electrical system with an inspection and really do a due diligence on that. Maybe even call a qualified electrician to examine it, not just our inspector. Boom. That was house number 1. From that point on, my clients knew, frick. And I told them, best secret, open the panel, look at the handwriting. That's it. Number 2, simple main houses, because super rich houses don't have this. I call it the Utah County Special. That is when people finish basements by themselves. Dean, you're not like this, but pretend that you're a guy that would love to only list with Homey. You would never want to pay a dime for anything in your life. And you go to Home Depot to finish your basement. Nope, I'm saying this is not you, but you're going to think like this, okay? So that's your mindset. I've pre-given it to you. And there are 2 options of 2x4s. One is $12. It is a treated 2x4. It's a base plate. And one is $2.97. Dean, what would you, if you were of the mentality that you never spent money on absolutely anything, what would you buy? $3. And they would install untreated wood on the base plate. And you can catch it 9 out of 10 times in the control room because the drywall's not done. And you can just peek your head behind the water heater and look if there is a professional pressure treated 2x4 on the ground. And if there is not, many times I've looked at my clients and said, I'm sorry, I know that you're probably enjoying this home. I made a vow, and I've only let it happen one time, that I would try to make sure that my clients didn't buy homes that had that blatant of a flaw that is then covered by drywall and hidden.
You were a police officer in your last life, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Again, the piece behind the
Yeah.
water heater.
It's the base plate, it's the 2x4s that are on the ground, on the foundation.
They need to be pressure treated.
It needs to be pressure treated.
Yeah.
Just to put it together.
Pressure treated.
Tell if they're pressure.
Oh,
It has like those grooves in it.
yeah. We can Google that.
Okay.
I don't know how to use this thing, but pressure treated. Now, when you tell a
Someone that built their own basement out, like a contractor would never use that, or would a contractor?
that, no,
still use it?
contractor would never.
Ever got an inspection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you have an inspection, then you should be clear. Like if your basement.
And any handyman, any contractor, everybody knows. It's very simple. It's very, very simple.
Okay, yeah.
Pressure treated. Water hits pressure treated. It doesn't absorb the water.
Right.
It's pressure treated. It just sits there. It'll dry out eventually, hopefully, knock on wood. Regular 2x4 against concrete, it will absorb water. And once it absorbs water, it's going to hold the water. Once it holds the water, what does it grow? Mold. There's only one home that I let my clients buy. It was in Draper. And yep, there's a pressure treated. Little dots all the way through it.
Okay.
And it's like reddish.
Sometimes
yeah.
it's brown and sometimes it's green.
Yeah, bunch of different colors. And a normal 2x4, very clear, smooth. And I told her, hey, I have found it now in 2 rooms. 1, I found it in the cold storage. And 2, I just found it underneath the stairs. It's got to be everywhere. And she was like, fine. But that was a fun negotiation tactic. I went to the listing agent and said, so my client's interested in this home. I have told them they shouldn't buy it. So you are now fighting against me. They're like, what? Why would you tell them that? Because your basement doesn't have finished pressure treated 2x4s. We didn't know that. Of course you didn't. There's the clients before you that obviously finished the basements by themselves. And they didn't know that that was a big no-no because they finished it themselves and they saved money. But this is a concern for me. So I have 2 options. I can either get enough money that she can do it later herself. They're going to cut all of this off, flood cut it, tear up that 2x4, put new 2x4 down, and they're going to splice that all together. Or I'm going to make you do that and pay for it out of the settlement statement. Do you guys want to delay the closing and you guys do all the work and pay for it and get your bids and save money by getting the exact dollar? Or do you want me to call contractors, get a rough estimate, and you take that off my purchase price? We'll take the other one. Okay, $25,000.
So
Fine.
do you feel like this is all good knowledge for you? Like you're very this is how your brain works in real estate. Like when you're looking at a house, I mean, it is because a lot of people don't dive into every little detail in a home like that, right?
But why not?
So no. I'm just
Oh, yeah.
saying.
Okay.
So do you feel like it's a tactic more that you use in negotiating and coming down in price,
Of course.
or yeah?
That's what it all comes down to.
It all comes down to you trying to get your client more money.
I know.
How often do you think your client actually does the work after?
Never.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yeah.
be honest with your client about that. And okay,
They
next
never do.
next tactic, right? Negotiating against agents on the other side. You're a listing agent. They bring something like this to you. Call it out.
That's
You and I both know that they're not going to replace this roof that has potentially 4 to 5 years left on the shingle life, but you think it's worth $40,000. You and I both know that they will not do this roof. When it's that, I go the opposite. I will tell you what I'll do. There's only one layer of shingles on there. You need to have, for insurance reasons, you want a better roof. We will pay for one layer of shingles to be added because it can have two. We'll put it in an escrow account and we will draw from that. Well, no, I don't. Yeah, I figured that. You're going to just call your brothers and uncles and all your friends and you're going to try to replace the roof yourself later on when it starts to leak and insurance pays it out. So, what do you actually want? It's not 40,000. You're going to do the job yourself. So, 10 every time. And from the beginning, as long as you know houses, again, study houses, know about roofs. I'm not a roofer. I just studied it. It's very easy. Just Google it. What makes a roof look good? What makes a roof look bad? Very simple stuff. When you go through a listing appointment, you can tell your client, hey, I'm going to act for this moment as if I'm going to destroy you. I want you to understand that. They're like, okay, these are the things I'm going to nitpick at. And if they start to get annoyed, and you can see it, I usually stop and go, hey, it's just so we're on the same page. I know that these items aren't a problem. I'm just trying to give you preparation for what people that don't know might bring to you. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm on your team, but
So I think it's important to note that because there's a lot of newer agents,
Mhm.
I think it's important to note that you can go these tactics as an agent and always be in it for your client, but make sure you come in as an agent to agent relationship, that you're not a complete jerk. Like that you're bulldozing over another agent. I personally feel like that never works. And
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because, Carl, you were one of my first deals for Eagle Mountain that I had, and he can come back and do this.
which one was it?
And Alex, it was a townhome in Eagle Mountain, right near City Center. Sorry. And I will tell you this. In no way did you ever push, shove, or manipulate. It was all educated based. So it was all, these are the points, just like you're saying. You never bulldozed, because I've worked with so many agents that want to bulldoze and intimidate you, and it's no tactic to use. And it's awful. And
Yeah.
you did not do that. You also came from it with a point of, we're going to
Solve this.
So his solving tactic was definitely agent to agent positively reinforced. Like, I'm just saying that you and Sherry Booth are two people why I knew Keller Williams coming here was okay, because they didn't try and bulldoze. They worked together as a team. And maybe I didn't, and if I'm being completely transparent here, which that is the kind of agent that I am, I just went back to my emails with you to read and it's exactly, he's teaching you exactly what he practices and does it in a positive way to want to work together as an agent and not me get defensive like you were just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we worked together and we came out for a win-win. And I think that's really important for new agents to know, because recently I did a deal in Gilbert and worked with an agent that just bulldozed. At the end of it, I thought, oh my goodness. Went back to my brokerage,
Mhm.
which I'm living here, so obviously I'm not communicating with
Yeah.
people in my office all the time over there. I don't have a meeting. And went back and said, have any, I have to do exactly. And maybe worked with, I will never work with this agent. And every person in there that had worked with that agent said, we will never work with that agent again.
Yeah.
Because it was a bulldozing tactic.
It's true.
And so I think it's a fine line. I think it's awesome to know, to be knowledgeable in all of these areas in the home, because this is what we do, right? We're selling.
I'm trying to find
But I
this.
think you need to stop.
I'm trying to find this.
Trying to find the transaction.
No, I'm not.
I'm dying.
This
It was
is
quite a year. Oh, okay.
this is a different one. But same thing. Keep going, please.
So yeah, so it was like a window situation, or it was a GFCI thing, or whatever it was. You were knowledgeable. I was super impressed that these points on the inspection, you didn't nitpick everything on the inspection, but you knew what would be important and what would bring value to your client.
You've been a
And
perfect.
you did it in a way that I wanted to keep calling you and not avoid you.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what I mean? That's really important to have those communication skills to be able to work with
think-
the agent so you both feel like it's a win.
So going back to that,
So no bulldozing.
if you have an agent that's a jerk, and your client really wants the house, what do you do?
This is the Coca-Cola experiment. And I don't know what I did with you, so I'm sorry.
No, I'm
It's the
telling
part.
you that it was
No,
all
I'm saying
very good.
yes, but at the same time, like, that's the vulnerability of this class. It's all on purpose. There's a reason. It is all on purpose.
Yeah.
So somebody's aggressive against me. First thing, how? Give them back power. If somebody is too aggressive, bring inspection items to them and say, how in the world am I going to be able to solve this for my client and your client? How are we going to find a win-win? Give them back the power. From that point on, they feel like they're in control. And you let them work on that bullet point that I had, which was let them solve it. Let them try to figure out an answer. Next, this Coca-Cola experiment was done in 1971 by Dennis Regan. It's one of my absolute favorite ones. No. So in 1971, all they did was they took a bunch of people, they brought them in, okay, to a place where there was a bunch of art. Like they didn't describe it as like just a museum. It was like an exhibit kind of thing, right? But the guy on the phone, to control the experiment, they let the guy have a conversation with somebody. There weren't cell phones back then. Having a conversation with somebody. He was either nice or really, really rude. And they did that so that the person would naturally have either, I like you, or you're an absolute a-hole. Then they would leave them alone in the room. The other person would leave. And that person, who was either nice or an a-hole, would inevitably leave the room real quick, come back, and he would either have with him a can of Coca-Cola or not. And if he had a can of Coca-Cola and an extra one, he would walk up and give it to them. Do you want a Coke? I got a Coke for you. Then he would then say, after a few minutes, hey, here's a note. By the way, I'm selling raffle tickets to this thing. Do you want to buy raffle tickets? You've seen this. The Coca-Cola experiment taught things. Whether they like you or don't like you does not change the outcome. If you gave them something, which a Coca-Cola at that time was worth nothing, the tickets were $1, which was a big deal. People bought 5 to 10 times more raffle tickets if they were given a Coca-Cola first. It did not matter if they liked him or didn't like him. Wild, isn't it? So, anytime that you have a situation when you run into it, first things that you try to do is just give them anything, something. Let the agent feel like you appreciate them, that it's a win. Sometimes, go ahead, Dean.
You have to tell your story about your client that was 2,500 rounds to close the deal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you go, what?
Oh, I destroyed. It was my best year. That year that we were doing 30 offers at a time. It's like my best year because I offered the weirdest stuff. I know Dean would see it and be like, what? But I did anything to stand out. And one of them was, we went through the house and this guy was a gun fanatic. Okay. One, seller. The seller was, we were the buyer. We opened the closet. I opened closets. Of course you open closets. Look in closets, close the closets. You don't go through their stuff, but you want to see the size of the closet, right? And I'm starting to see the hidden cases. And I'm like, this guy's got a lot. Then I went in the basement, saw tons. And back then, during that true crazy time, ammo was really hard to get. My client happened to be a reloader. That means he made his own bullets in the state of Washington. It was his jam. He was an older guy. He loved it. And I just simply said, here's our offer. Hey, if you take our offer, 500 rounds of 223, which is AR-15 ammo, will be included with the close of this home. And I sent it. And the agent called me laughing. And she said, I cannot believe this. There is an offer that's 15,000 higher than yours.
No way.
And you just won. Because this guy saw your offer and said, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Those people right there. And what did,
Yeah, that is a love letter.
yep. All the times, man, do you know what I would offer? My client is a barber. You get 1 year of free haircuts if you take this offer. We offered pizza. We would send as soon as the showings would close, because you remember the time and it was like showings end by 7 p.m. By 7:30 p.m., a box of crumble cookie would arrive at every one of their houses. And it would say, thank you so much for letting us sit in the line and go through your home. Absolutely amazing. Can't wait for you to get a chance to see our offer. And I would sign it by my client's name and send it. And inevitably, the agent would call me and be like, you sneaky devil. There are 15 offers, and they said, we want Carl Spencer's offer, pretending I'm the buyer. They said, what? There's an offer in your pile from Carl Spencer. That's the buyer. I don't know who the agent is. Oh, yeah, it's right here. They sent us cookies. And said, thank you. And it wasn't like, you have to take our offer. It was always like a, hey, thank you for letting us just tour your lovely home. It's amazing. After a showing. But we won. Over and over and over again, the cookies won. Then everybody started doing cookies. I was like, you sneaky little devils, stealing it. So how give anybody that's aggressive and ultra aggressive and attacking, again, give them some back. Where am I on time?
Well, you got a minute.
I got 1 minute.
Keep going
But
forever.
you're fine.
I
Just an hour and 1 minute. To Kevin's point, though, about agents that are, difficult to work with and this how question, I think using your inexperience to your benefit and just when agents trying to bully, just what would you do in this situation if your client really felt so strongly about this? Like, what would you do in your you've been in the business 30 years? Oh my gosh, Susie, what would you do? You've been in the business 30 years and you got a client that's so passionate about this one issue. Like, how would you handle it?
So once again, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, what would you do? Like, even if your client felt so strongly about this.
Right. So Marcy Hess and Brett, they're in our office, right? That's a sensitive contract. We are under contract. We are limited how? Quiz. You've been on 1 month. How are we limited agents? Dean.
So it's like
Dean's in charge. Yeah.
same brother.
Which means conflict. It's just him. And that's going to get awkward real quick. Okay? Good job. Okay. They requested, do not do this. Let me start with that. That's my disclosure. Do not do this. You have to be at least 7 years of an agent to do this, okay? Marcy found a couple things in the inspection report. She sent over a message. It was a wild weekend. I think it was like there was a holiday thing. I got the message. I sent it to my client. He's in a fishing tournament. We kind of processed. We understood. It was very simple stuff. Her due diligence lapsed. She came back and said, I spaced. And I said, girl, don't stress it. I got you. This is why I would say that. Don't do that. It's because when I do something like that, which is Dean sitting there going, Carl, I hate it that you do this. And he never knows because it's good. Doesn't know. I do it because the fail safe is me. I will read that list and I am responsible for that list if all fails. If I have sent a message saying, don't worry about it, it's because I know the cost of a garbage disposal. I know how to replace a sink faucet or hire somebody, and I am willing to cover the cost if all fails. I am the insurance for that. Me. It's my money. But what I just did is go into my client and I said, hey, the guest bathroom is not working properly. The oven didn't work. He goes, I cooked with the oven last night before I left. Okay, well, the inspector obviously just didn't know how to turn on that specific oven. Let's not worry about it. And the garbage disposal downstairs does not work. I've never used it. Never even operated that kitchen down there. He lived there for like a year and a half and went through a divorce. So it was like, I don't know anything about it. I said, okay, let me see what I can do. So then she reaches out, right? Says, hey, now we're 3 days before close, and I go over there just to check off these items. I took the faucet apart, the very tip of the cap, and it just had a bunch of calcium deposits. Banged it out, put it back on. Faucet worked amazing. Oven obviously was working. We knew it was working. Took a quick video, got the faucet working. Went downstairs. I was like, okay, garbage disposal. I know garbage disposals. There's a trip switch under it. This one was weird, so I had to Google it while I'm sitting there. Watched a video on this specific brand where the trip switch was. Got power running to it, but it was jammed. Took the little plastic thing off and looked down there. It's completely rusted and covered. I mean rusted. Wording in the email is working garbage disposal. Rusted garbage disposal. I will go buy a bottle of CLR. I will pour it down there. It will eat the rust. This thing will spin. Probably, my opinion, 6 to 8 months. The corrosion from that rust and operating that, it'll give, and water will go pouring out underneath their sink. And it's behind a dishwasher, so they won't see it because it's in there. So I had a moment to think, and I called Marcy. I said, hey, here's a problem. And then I sent her this. Hey, Marcy and team, I just wanted to send you a quick video. Hopefully you don't hear my super hard breathing through this whole thing. So the dishwasher just removes with these two simple screws right here. No, let's fast forward, okay? Because I'm bored. There's garbage disposal, and then right here. So with that trip switch flipped, you can see down there that our client never used it and it rusted pretty well.